Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some installation issues that I had with the Rotrex Topgun supercharger kit. As you know, when you're modifying a vehicle, nothing's going to line up or go the way as planned. And especially you already have modifications, you're going to have to alter some of those to install what it is that you're wanting to install. As you know, this kit is catered more for the 370Z than it is the G37. Therefore, I guess this is more for G37 car owners. Y'all are going to be running into some of these issues, I believe. Right off the bat, you can see the intake pipe has these indentions right here. You can go along the actual blower, but on the G37, I believe you have enough room to get by to actually run it straight, so these indentions wouldn't really need to be there. I guess that's more of a 370 issue. That's why it's made that way. You got plenty of room down here. As you can see, it has plenty of clearance. The horn right here will need to be moved. And let's see what else. The main thing I liked about the way the intercoolers sit is I do have an oil cooler, which is right here. It's a 34 row, and I had a power steering cooler. Not sure if you can see it. Let's see if I can get the camera in there. Right there, and then the supercharger cooler is going to sit right behind it, which is that big one right there, which, I mean, that left plenty of space for me not to have to adjust any of these. I did end up putting some washers, where is it at? Right here, to move the intercooler up, just for the fact that the bottom piece, as it is handmade, it's more pushed in just a tad bit, so I had the space up here for the oil cooler, but at the bottom I had to make just a little bit more, but you can still see straight through it, so you know nothing's gonna be rubbing. And there is right here, you can see that space for the power steering cooler as well, so you know it's not touching. Over here for the reservoir for the oil, it shows on the instructions you're supposed to mount it here and here, but the thing is, when it's actually in this position, it hits this bracket right here. It doesn't let it go up high enough, and if you move it down, it actually does hit the intake pipe. As you can see, this hose is already rubbing right there, so when it's actually moved right here, it was hitting the pipe, so I had to just I made the small bracket right here just to move it over to the side to where it actually clears. But I need like a Z bracket where it actually comes forward a little bit, and that way I could get my windshield wiper fluid reservoir installed. I have a 2010, so it's one of the bulkier ones. I know they slimmed them down as newer year models came out, so that one might actually clear that one without having to make a different kind of bracket for it. But the way it sits right here, that wasn't working. Coming up on the bracket itself, there's two pulleys you need to install, which was this one right here by the dipstick, and then the one down here right under the intake pipe, under these three other pulleys. But the issue I was having was these bolts that come with it kind of protrude a little bit through the bracket, and I could not get that bottom one to line up, which is gonna be that one right there. It would not line up, and there's a radiator hose that runs back in there, and I thought it was actually hitting the bracket. Give me just a sec. Well, the hose runs like this back there, and I thought the bolt was going in, and it was actually hitting this clip. So what I ended up moving was I rotated this clip to the side, kind of like so, and I tried to get that bolt in there because you could kind of tell it was rubbing, and it still wouldn't go through. And I'm not sure why. I tried getting my finger back there, but it felt like it was hitting this cover right here. And I'm guessing these are machine made, but I don't know if the machine was off a little bit or not. But these they give you extra spare spacers for the 370 strut tower, and what I ended up doing was putting a few spacers between that pulley and that bolt. You can't really tell. I believe I got 2 or 3 in there, just enough to move this bolt, or any of these bolts where they move it just slightly back. So I put the spacer on this side of course it has one already there, so I put in between the bolt and the spacer that's supposed to be there just to pull it back so it doesn't hit this cover on the back side. And let's see what else I had. Oh yes, this is a power steering. I actually had to cut strained out this bracket right here. It actually, let me see if I could get a better angle, sorry guys. This actually comes out a little bit and comes out, and it sits about right here, and that was actually getting in the way in the intake pipe. This is actually the intake pipe that blew off. It blew off right here when I was getting it dynoed at the shop. But yeah, I ended up straightening it out. I'm only getting held on by one bolt, and that gave me just enough room to have the power steering here. It's kind of slightly touching, but not so much. But the hose that is supplied with the kit is actually long enough for your original power steering cooler, which is not going to reach. It comes to about right here. If you had like 5 or 6 more inches, it would fit perfect with an aftermarket cooler. I got lucky because I have the older model, which is not a pressurized system, and the kit comes with the hose to connect it to the pressurized system. So what I did was just to get the hose from there. It was a bit longer, and I used that for the power steering to run it into the aftermarket kit. And of course I had cut this one too short, so I ended up using what was left over to run into where this hose runs. This hose is gonna go from here for your reservoir into your filter, which I have into your cooler. I'm sorry, into your cooler. It comes out the cooler and it goes into your filter, and from the filter it's gonna go up and it's gonna go into your blower, and then come back the other end from your blower all the way back into the reservoir. But mine, I had cut this too short. I went off the instructions, so I ended up using the other half, and that was actually long enough to get it into I had enough to get it into the cooler. But on their instructions, it has this cooler actually this nipple facing the other way and coming back around, and mine worked out because I have it facing that way, and it actually goes up into the filter. As you can see right there, it comes out and then goes straight into the filter. So I actually lucked out and had enough hose that way, and from there that was plenty. I have this little cut slit right here to go into the blower. So just make sure before you start cutting the hoses that you have everything mocked up. That way you don't have any issues the way I did on that. I think maybe the last one, I guess that was my fault. I had installed everything, and you have different clearance issues on this side than you would on the other side. Right here, if you were to turn the tire, you would not hit any of these this intake pipe, I guess. I had installed everything, I had it dynoed, and I went through a drive-through, I think the next day. And you know how them drive-throughs are really tight. I actually turned the wheel all the way, and I had these bolts right here for the clamps for the hose, had them facing out this way, and it actually caught the tire a little bit. It was a really sharp drive-through, but you can see where it did clip the tire. So just make sure whenever you're installing these clamps that they are facing the right way, and after you're done with the installation, you might want to just turn your wheels all the way, both sides, to make sure you're not going to be rubbing everything. That was actually my fault. But let me see what else. Oh yes, I guess the main thing would be the hood latch. The fact that I believe these engines sit a little bit higher than they do on the 370, because on the images that I got, the blower is actually down here, and this one sits a little bit higher. And I had the original hood latch, which is this one. It's gonna be this bolt, and then there's one that sits right here, that one right there, that actually holds this latch together in place. Go right there, and as you can see, I had to cut that, and then there's a little clip that comes out that holds down here that holds this wire in place. But I had to cut all that to get it to fit. So if you're gonna be getting this kit, you might want to get some hood pins or some latches before you get this kit. Just know that your hood's not gonna close. I mean, I couldn't figure out a way. I did drill 2 extra holes one here and one a little bit further to the side. I was trying to get it to move extra this way. Try to keep this still working. There's no way I was able to get around it. I ended up ordering these right here just for the fact that I feel like they have more coverage versus, let me see, well, you know those other push pins, where are they at? Give me just a second. These are the ones I'm talking about right here, where you just push them and it just comes right out. But I feel like these are, I wouldn't say cheaply made, but I don't really trust that little ball holding it in. I guess I'm getting a little bit off a track. But these have an actual pin right there that is gonna hold it in place. So you know once it's latched, it ain't going anywhere. Compared to this, the only issue I'm having is these would work perfect because they're actually gonna sit a little better with this hood, but they're so small I don't feel like they grab much. Versus this one, you have a lot of surface to cover, and I don't think it's gonna sit flush. As you can see, it's gonna be around this area. You can see like on this side it's not gonna sit flush, and if I hold it flat it picks it up on the other side, so it might not work out as great as I thought. And the G37 does have a lot of curves, so you can see how much play is in there, so it might not work as good as these other ones. But I guess it's up to you, but that is something I recommend buying before you get this kit, unless you can think of a different way to hold the hood closed. Other than that, my favorite thing, like I said, is the fact that you have all this space back here that I didn't have to move any of my previously installed coolers, which was great because I really enjoy those. Other than that, I guess that covers it.